Do you know where you are? Do you know what is happening? You are in your bed, and you are dying of old age. Don't be afraid. It's a good thing. Your body is simply tired, and it is preparing to release your mind back into the greater universe, where you will be unfettered by such paltry concerns as eating and sleeping. You will finally be free to travel the universe, to see things you cannot yet imagine. You will be free from pain, from hunger, from sorrow, from regret. It was not always this way, you know. In the beginning, there was no death. Have you never wondered why humans, dwarves, the Aalveir, orcs, goblins, and Misatani are called the immortal races? When Aalveir was formed and the gods created their peoples, they were enduring, all of them. And because they were undying, the races were fundamentally flawed. They had no drive, no purpose, nothing to strive for, and all the time in existence to pursue nothing. Darshus Ne gave the humans the ability to experience emotional extremes normally reserved for the gods themselves, to know the depths of despair and the pinnacles of joy. However, his creations strived for nothing and took every setback for the minor and temporary inconvenience that it was. The siblings, Savayen and Eloise, each created a version of the Aalveir, and each was perfect in the eyes of their creator. They were elegant, but shiftless and bored. They mastered their crafts, but had nothing to strive for. Thorogard fashioned the first dwarves from rock and iron. They were to carve out the great stones of Aalveir so that the dragon might have a chance to catch the moon. But being immortal, their plans never progressed, and they spent their time talking in the Underdark, but doing nothing. Roche birthed the orcs so that they would bring glory to his name, but for all their ferocity, they would not do battle. For what good is battle when neither you nor your opponents can die? Cain is the god of change, and as such could not make up his mind what he wanted his race to be. So he just kept creating, but his goblins were listless, and each felt replaced by the next, and forgotten by their creator. Only Misato was content with her creations. The Misatani frolicked and played and enjoyed the life she had given them. They wanted for nothing and spent their days singing her praises. Of the celestial courtiers, only Saren refused to create a race to populate the world. He looked out over the creations of the others and decided instead that his gift to them would be death. That sounds horrible, I know, and in many ways it was, for his gift came with disease and murder and fear. But it was a true gift, all the same. To the humans he gave 90 years, enough time for their fortunes to change, but only if they worked to change them. And by denying them time to experience everything, He lit in them the fire to do and see as much as possible, as Darshis Ne had willed. He gifted the Aalveir with thousands of years to make use of their patience and their love of growing things. For them, death had become a release for when they had accomplished what they wanted and had no further need of the world. The dwarves received 4 centuries. This allowed them time to plan, but not so much time that they could afford not to act. And because tunneling through the earth is slow work, it gave them a way to measure their progress. Rosh received his glory as his orcs waged wars and battled monsters. Many died, but they found purpose in it and fought even harder. To them, Saren gave 60 years, although living to an old age is considered ignoble by most orcs. Only the fiercest and most scarred can find honor in death from old age, and yet they're the least likely to want it. Cain's goblins received a mere 40 years, as he kept flooding the world with new creations. They grew wild and ferocious as a result, spreading out as fast as possible in all directions and clashing with everything they encountered. They breed quickly, and so Saren sent them diseases specific to the goblin race. Only Misata thought to refuse Saren's gift, for she and her people were happy with their lot. Her refusal enraged Saren, so instead he gifted her people with desirability. The goblins and orcs wanted to eat their flesh, while the humans and dwarves desired to wear their fur. Even the Aalveir wanted them as pets. And so the Misatani's peace was destroyed, and Misata herself had no choice but to accept death for her children to save them from eternal suffering. However, she was not without her own power, and she gave her people another gift. The goddess of illusion wove into being a land of freedom and joy, where the minds of her people could go when their bodies failed them. Theirs was the first of the heavens, afterlives for the faithful. Seeing her creation, the other gods created similar heavens for their own. Only Saren was without, for he had created no race for Aalveir. But he was too important to be left with nothing. He demanded from each of the gods a portion of their people for his own afterlife. Darshis Ne created his heaven so that those who suffered in life would know power and happiness after death. So he offered Saren those humans who in life wielded power wickedly. Savayen valued fairness and love in his creations, so he offered up those who were selfish and cruel. And Eloise despises those who lie, so she gave to Saren those who would hide the truth. Thorogard suffered torture at the hands of Eloise, and so he offered to Saren those dwarves who would willingly torture others. Rosh wanted only the bravest warriors, so he gave Saren the cowardly. By contrast, Cain willingly served Saren, and so gave him his best, most cunning goblins. Again, only Misata thought to refuse his request, but she feared for her people, and she knew she must offer him something. Finally it came to her, and she offered to Saren those who commit murder of their own race. Since they were hunted by the other immortal races, the Misatani would not kill their own, and so she ended up giving Saren nothing. And so were created the levels of hell, where those who anger or displease their gods are sent to suffer the loss of their gods' heavens. For Saren made his afterlife a place of misery and loneliness and fear. And as punishment for their disrespect, Saren decided to allow the dead from his realm to walk among the living as undead. He altered his song to allow the wizards and sorcerers of Aalveir to conjure the undead and cause strife to the living. Only the goblins were spared his wrath. While there are most certainly undead goblins as well, those goblins who die and go to hell become demons and serve willingly in exchange for power. And that brings us back to you. You have led a good life, a decent life. You have made mistakes in judgment from time to time, but you have lived a life wherein you have done minimal harm, and you have strived to undo what harm you have caused. You will die soon, and you will be released from this prison of flesh and suffering, and will ascend to the heavens, if that is your wish. You have nothing to fear, for death is nothing more than a gateway to a new and better journey. You will be joined with those you have loved who have gone before you, and you can watch over those you love who walk still the lands of Aalveir. Rest now. I will remain here with you until it is your time to pass through the veil. You are loved, and you will be missed, but you need not worry about those of us you leave behind. Death comes for us all in time, so we will join you before you know it. Good night.